I mean, it's not. You're not running around with the camera in your hand, chasing down noises.
No, it's not
it's
glamorous.
Great drama. Yeah, yep. It's great drama for television to be running through the dark, but it's dangerous. I mean, not only this is one of the things that, you've got, first of all, a very tentative environment anyways. Usually you're in a place that's not the upkeep on it's not very well. We're not talking about brand new houses. We're talking about old abandoned buildings.
Right.
So paint's falling, glasses everywhere, things of that nature. And then on top of that, we're going to lay down hundreds of feet of cords.
And stir up all that dust. Because we have
all of these.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. We're stirring up all this dust, and we have all of these cords that are taped to the floor. And again, you're walking out in the dark. And I have fallen, I don't know how many times. I tripped over a camera cord or ran into a chair because I didn't know it was there because it's dark and you can't really see anything. And
absolutely.
Or somebody shines their IR camera right in your face and you're just blinded for a second and you can't, get your bearings.
Right.
I mean, I was in an investigation. And it's a funny story I tell that we were in a cemetery here in just up the road, just outside of Meade, Colorado, and we were doing a little investigation there. And there was an orphanage, and they found a large grave next to the cemetery that was full of children.
Oh my!
And so, there's stories and there's things. It's back then it cost, money to bury. It costs money to bury somebody in a cemetery. It pays for the landscaping and the upkeeping and all, so on and so forth. And so a lot of people believe that this orphanage, there had been some tuberculosis around here in the area, smallpox, things of that nature, and that perhaps in this orphanage, a lot of these children had passed away. And because they didn't have the money to actually put the children inside the cemetery, they had come and tried to bury them as close to the edge of it as they could.
Wow.
Because they were right on the edge of the cemetery. So, we had gone out there with some trigger objects, candy and a ball, and trying to see if we could get some child spirits to talk to us. And we were sitting here, and I'm filming, and we're doing the investigation, and I was sitting on the ground, and the ground was really cold. And I went to stand up, and my legs had fallen asleep. And so when I went to stand up, I totally lost my footing, and I just face planted into the ground. And, I tell people, even the spirits were probably laughing at me because it was hilarious. We were all just laughing. And then, of course, my cameraman's like, and we got it all on film. And I was like, yeah, that's for the bloopers reel right there. Yeah, that's what you're going to put up on the website, right there. Here's a picture of our fearless leader falling face first in the cemetery in the dark.
Oh,
these are treacherous places that we're investigating. These are not. It's not a safe environment. You're not. You have to wrap yourself in bubble wrap, kind of.
Well, yeah. But, what? We haven't even touched on
it can be dangerous.
We haven't even touched on the asbestos and the lead paint that's peeling off the old walls.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you have to be careful. And like you said with the trespassing, I mean, that's something you have to be very cautious of, too. I try to, whenever possible, we try to research every place that we're going to investigate as much as possible before we get there and get as much background as we can.
Right.
And look up land records and find out who owns it and get that permission so that you can do that. I mean, if you're going to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Because you don't want people giving the groups the bad name. I mean, in every city we have, as you know, James, we have there's more than one paranormal group.
Oh, yeah.
There's not always just one group that's doing one place. I mean, Colorado Ghost Hunters is up here. There's several different
I have several
that come in and out.
Right.
Kindred Spirit Society International. There's a lot of them that come in and out of, a lot of ones are pretty well known. I don't know if you know Richard Estep, but he wrote about Haunted Longmont. And there's some very sketchy history that's revolved around this little town in Colorado. And, so you have to make sure that when you go into an investigation and leave an investigation, that you're leaving a good impression behind. Nobody wants to sit there and go, well, yeah, we had this one group in here and they trampled everything and they were, and they left a big old mess, because then it really takes the next group that much more to build up the reputation again. We all have to work a little bit harder because somebody did it the wrong way. And so, it's really, if you're going to get into it, it's good to find a group that's, experienced and has some stuff, and then, ask if you can join them occasionally if you want to dabble in the paranormal, as they say. But, yeah, I don't recommend any 20-year-old college students grabbing a camera and wandering around in the dark in an abandoned building. It's not a safe environment.
That brings me to my next question, Christina. What would be your advice to somebody that wants to get into investigating and wants to get into this field? What would be your advice to them starting out?
Well, my first advice would be, really take stock of yourself and consider why you're doing it. There are people, investigators, that go into this with the dreams of grandeur, that are like, oh, we're going to be the next Taps.
Oh, Lord.
If that's your goal, if your ultimate goal is I'm going to do this to get on television,
wow,
you're in it for the wrong reasons.
Yep.
There are a lot of us that take this very, very seriously, and we have spent years reading books and, researching the paranormal. I mean, there's more to it than just being like, oh, I'm going to get it. You can't just, you can just go get a camera and a recorder and start investigating, but you really have to kind of have an understanding of how energy works and how, we all have our different opinions on ghosts and spirits and these things, but you really need to have a good footing on why you're wanting to investigate the paranormal, and B, study and inform yourself about it, because it's not like we've said, it's not all it's cracked up to be. I mean, there's a lot of times when it's a tedious pain in the keister. You're just like, oh my gosh, we have 6 cameras and we did 5 hours of investigation. This is 40 hours of video somebody has to watch.
And
it's not the glory of, every time you turn on a recorder, you're going to get an EVP, or every time you turn on a camera, you're going to see a shadow. I mean, there's so much of it that really is just tedious, that if you're not in it for the right reasons, you're going to
be disappointed.
You're going to do more damage you're going to do, not just be disappointed, but you're going to do more damage to
the family,
society as a whole. Yeah. I mean, and to your group and to everybody else. I mean, again, you're leaving a pattern for the next set of investigators that comes into a place. So if you come in and you are agitating things and you're stirring things up and you're not really seriously considering the ramifications of that because you haven't informed yourself about it, then, it's just, then when they do need help and they have to call somebody to come in and clean up your mess, it's just that much harder for the next group to have to deal with.
I so totally agree. And you know what? This investigation should be taken seriously and taken like any other profession. Just like, if you have a plumbing problem, you're going to call a plumber who knows what they're doing. You're not going to call your neighbor, hey, can you fix my plumbing? And plumbing can
Unless your neighbor's a plumber.
Well, yeah. But plumbing can be a dirty job. But, I mean, somebody's got to do it. But that plumber takes it seriously. He's not in there poking stuff and then leaving and your house stinks up. And it's like, what'd this guy do?
And he knows what he's doing. He can troubleshoot it, I mean, It's like I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking about this, about the investigations and all that stuff. And a lot of it is, sadly, going into a place and they're like, oh, well, we hear this and we see this. You always have that family or that, this is the experiences that they've had. But at the end of the day, the number one thing you have to do is try to prove that it's not paranormal.
Absolutely.
Sitting there and saying, okay, is it that, you know, is it the pipes in the wall? Is it vermin, insects? You know, I mean, we've got into a place in this lady where she hears voices and things like that, and we found a wasp's nest in the attic. Well, those wasps,
they hum.
They hum.
Yes,
and,
sir.
You know, our brains, you know, our brains want to turn things into things that they're not. That's why, you know, we see faces in old mirrors and things like that. You know, our brain is programmed to find structure in the non-structured.
Yep.
And it's going to hear that hum, and your brain's going to go, oh, is that a voice? Did I hear somebody talking?
Right.
Because
and
where our brain goes with it. And it turns out that there's just a huge wasp nest, and yes, we've come in to investigate this, and what you really, really need is an exterminator.
And you know what I have found that is a big cause to a lot of this? People thinking, like, the first thing, oh my God, there's a demon, or I've got spirits, is all these paranormal television shows. They get it in their head. It's like, oh, that noise. Oh, yeah. And again,
because it's dramatic.
Right.
It's dramatic. I mean, you have to, you know, what sells, you know. I mean, if every paranormal show is just a bunch of people sitting around in a circle asking stupid questions, they'd be like, why are we watching this? This doesn't make any sense.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, it's why TLC exists. I mean, it's for the drama and the fanfare. I mean, there's an entire channel devoted to it. And it's great. It makes for great television. It really, really does.
But it affects the way people
think.
Right.
But in this profession, again, if you sit down and talk to anybody who's done any serious investigation, they'll tell you, you know, me and 6 people just spent on. We started at 8, and we got done at 2, and we sat there in the dark and wandered around and asked a bunch of questions, and we didn't see anything. We didn't hear anything.
We stowed our toes.
And now we're going to go and take all of that stuff that we recorded, because now we have, I don't know about how you guys do it. Like, I have kits. So, like, if I go into a place, I have 6 kits, and each kit goes into a room. And it's got a recorder, it's got a camera, it's got an EMF detector, it's got a voice box, a spirit box, it's got, you know, I have all this equipment. Mm-hmm. And so you have to go over all of that information 6 times over 6 hours. And again, I just have to reiterate to people who really want to get into this, it is a time-consuming pain in the butt, and you may get nothing. You may spend all that time in some place and get squat.
Right.
And be like, we didn't catch anything.
And
there's nothing.
Sometimes you might not catch something. Sometimes you might get more than you ever thought you'd get, and sometimes.
I mean, I've gotten things like, you know, one of my favorite things. I'm trying to get it set up. It's again, if you have a recorder, if you guys have ever done this, you have this long 2 hours or 3 hours of recording, so you have to pick up. So I'm actually splicing some audio now. My sister and I had gone on a haunted vacation. We went and stayed in a bunch of haunted hotels all over Colorado, starting with the Stanley Hotel and moving around. And then we had stopped, and we were in Canyon City, and we had decided we went into the Canyon City Prison Museum. And it's a wonderful place if you've ever been there. I'd love to take people on a tour. I would love to do a at-night investigation there. Haven't had the opportunity to yet, but hopefully we will. But my sister and I are just walking through, talking and doing stuff, and we have the recorder on. And again, like, we did this, and then it was probably a month or 2 later, I was like, oh, I'm going to go review this audio. And I caught the most amazing EVP I've ever caught in my entire life.
Wow.
But we had no idea that it had happened at the time. We were just, you know, and it's one of those things where you just hear the two of us talking back and forth, and then you hear this third voice, and it's clear as day. And it's standing, you swear it's standing right next to the recorder. But you can tell we didn't notice it because we just kept talking.
Right, exactly. That's happened many times with me. Hey, I got to tell you, we're running almost out of time. It's been really great to having you on here. We've got a couple minutes left.
Okay.
And I'd like to give you this couple minutes here, Christina, to promote